So let's finish these two questions from yesterday. So the question's asking you to factor and find the zeros of the relation, right? So you have y equal negative 24x squared plus 6. Take a common factor out, and then negative 6 is our common factor. Remember that if my first term is a negative, I want to factor that negative. I'll have negative 6 as my greatest common factor, and I'll be left with 4x squared minus 1. Okay? Then I'm going to look at my leftover. The leftovers is a binomial, right, with a minus between the two terms, right? So it's a binomial, two terms that are squared terms or perfect square, and there is a minus between them, so I can use the difference of squares. So the difference of squares for this is going to be 2x minus 1, 2x plus 1. Because if I take the square root of 4x squared, that gives me 2x. The square root of 1 is 1. Okay? Now, is this the most factored form? So is this completely factored?
Yes.
All right. Now, how would I find the zeros?
Y equals 0.
So set y equal to 0, yeah?
Treat them sum each other equals 0, so each one should be 0.
So,
So I will see, of course, 6 is not 0, so this one, the first bracket could be 0. So I
Mhm.
will try to solve this one.
mhm.
Next time I will find another bracket.
So we're going to have to solve each bracket,
Yeah.
right? So each bracket can equal to 0. If this is 0, 6 times 0 times whatever number, that's going to be 0. If this bracket is 0, 6 times whatever number times 0 is 0. Okay? So that's why we set each bracket equal to 0. And these will be my zeros. How would you solve for the zeros? What do you have to do?
Move 1, 2 first.
Okay, so move the negative 1 over, then you get 2x equals 1, then
And then divided by 2.
then divide by 2. Okay, that's why you need to set up each equation or each bracket equal to 0 to solve for it, because it's not always the opposite sign of this number. Okay, so it's x equals a half in this case. That's one of my zeros. What would be my other zero? Negative a half. Yeah. So what do I do? Bring the 1 over, and that becomes negative 1, and then divide by 2, and that's going to give me x equals to negative a half. Right? So in this case, what I will have is I will have two zeros, okay, positive a half and negative a half. And then if I look at my first equation, what form do you think this is in? It could be standard form, yeah, but also it could be
Vertex.
vertex form, right? Yes, I don't have the bracket, but that's a 0, right? I can look at this as negative 24x minus 0 squared plus 6, right? But x minus 0 is x, right? So what would be my vertex if I'm looking at this? Yeah, 0, 6. Right? So I can look at this. If I want to sketch this. So if I want to sketch this, this is my vertex at 0, 6, right? And then at half and negative half, I have my zeros, right? And this is gonna look like this. Yeah, makes sense. It's vertically stretched, it's reflected, right? We're good with that? My factor? Negative 4x, that's my common factor. All right, so if I factor out a negative 4x, what would I have as my leftover? X minus 6. Because if I divide each term by negative 4x, right, I'm going to be left with x minus 6. All right, perfect. So if you're looking at this factored form, what would be my zeros? So x, this is obvious, right? So when you set this equal to 0, perfect, that's going to be 6. That's one of the zeros, okay? But you don't want to forget that there's another x that's outside. You also have to set that x equal to 0, right? Because if this is 0, negative 4 times 0 times whatever number it is, it's going to be 0, okay? So a lot of people miss this part, okay? So make sure you don't miss it. You have two zeros. One of them is the 0, and the other one is the 6. Okay? And then we know that if I'm going to sketch this quickly, right, we have 0, 6. Somewhere here, you're going to have the vertex. All right, sorry?
From equation,
Yeah,
y-intercept
it's 0. Yeah, that's right. So I get the y-intercept to be 0. Okay? We'll talk about how can I find my vertex point if I know the two zeros. We'll talk about that in the next lesson. Okay? Are we okay with this? Any questions? All right. Now we're going to look at if I know, if I have a graph, okay, how do I find the equation? So we did that with vertex. We did it if I was given 2 points, how can I find the vertex? How can I find, the equation? Or if I was given a graph, how can I find the equation? We're going to do the same thing, but this time we are going to find it in factored form. Okay? So we're looking for the equation in factored form. So remember that the factored form has the form of y equals ax minus r x minus s. Factored form helps me find what? The zeros or the x-intercepts. So in order for me to be able to find the equation, I need the x-intercepts, okay? Because I need to put them in for r and s. So my x-intercepts here are -3 and 1. So these are my x-intercepts. So these are the things that I'm going to plug in for r and s. But as you know, I would still have to find a, right? Because a cannot be just a letter a. I need to find it. So that's why I need another point other than the two zeros to solve for it. Okay? So always first you're going to substitute the zeros into the generalization for r and s. So I have my general formula. I'm going to plug in the zeros in for r and s. So if I do that, I'll get the following. Y equals x minus -3, right? Because my first 0 is at -3. And then x minus 1. So I can simplify this and can write it as y equal ax, negative and negative makes it a +3, and then x minus 1. Are we okay with that? All right. So now I have my zeros in. I still have to solve for a. To solve for a, I need another point, as I said, as we did before with the vertex form. We need another point. So the point could be any point. It could be your vertex if it's clear. It could be your y-intercept if it's clear. It could be any point, as long as it's a clear point. In this case, I can see that the y-intercept is 0, 6. Okay? So I can use this point for x and y to solve for a. be 6 equals to A. 0 plus 3, that's just 3. 0 minus 1, that's just negative. So that would simplify to 6 equals negative 3A, because 3 times negative 1 is negative. Now I need to solve for A. What do? Divide by negative 3, right? So if I divide 6 by negative 3, I'm going to get negative 2. So my formula is going to be y equals negative 2 x plus 3